Here we go.
Wow, I smell a triple threat, at least for Daniel Bryan. Well, in the case of Daniel Bryan, Edge and Roman Reigns at Roman Mania, at WrestleMania 37 in just a couple weeks. So, welcome to my WWE Fastlane 2021 recap. And just as usual, all the matches that I discussed is going to be in the description of the video for you guys to check out. And if you haven't seen this, I think this is was a pretty good pay-per-view, or just an event for the most part. And just we got to see the return of the Fiend. I think this was I think that was the highlight for me. But I'm going to talk about it going later on in the video. But let's start with the kickoff show. Every kickoff show always has like at least one match leading up to the main event, to the main show. At least I would say that. But this is the last stop. This is the last ever pay-per-view event, whatever you want to call it. The final stop before WrestleMania, leading to the road to WrestleMania, where everything comes to a head, where all the rivalries and all the championships and all the storylines are settled, and where basically anything can happen. Some surprises, even some surprise potential returns of superstars. It's not even just the Royal Rumble where superstars return that haven't been on the show and been in the company for a while. But for a while, some people can really make their return, and their interest is there, and some people who've been on the show for quite some time. So it could be anybody just possibly returning for maybe wanting that championship opportunity that they never got, or maybe just wanting another taste of gold just at WrestleMania to start new lines and feuds and stuff like that. But let's get right into it. So our first match, for at least for the kickoff show, was the United States Championship being defended by Matt Riddle, taking on the leader of the Retribution. Well, at least what's left of it now, because it's too late now, for the Retribution for the stable. Mustafa Ali in a one-on-one match for the United States Championship. So I knew Matt Riddle was going to end up winning this match and retaining his championship. He hasn't even had it for that long. And I have a little question. I just wonder what's going to happen with Retribution now. And even though Mustafa Ali ended up losing, he's pretty talented. He was already talented before, way before the stable started with Retribution, and trying to be the outcast and someone that's outspoken, where he can just be able to try to get the chances that he deserves. And I don't know about anybody else, but you gotta agree with them. Just all these legends that's coming back, that's just taking the spotlight. I sort of really just kind of agree with him. Just the fact that you get all these legends that come back and just take the spotlight, and then they just end up getting championship matches. People like Goldberg, for example, that just end up getting the championship. And just not even just the legends, just the way that they do things now. What happened to earning the title opportunities? You just come out and interrupt them on the microphone. I already said this plenty of times before from the past events. You just come out and just, all you gotta do is interrupt that championship, or that particular champion that's holding that title. It doesn't matter if it's the WWE Championship, or it doesn't matter if it's the Universal Championship. It could be any belt, the United States Championship, the Intercontinental Championship. You just go out there and interrupt that particular champion, you're bound to get a title match. That's all you have to do. You don't even get it. You don't have to worry about competing into a qualification match or qualifying match to get that title opportunity. You just go out there and interrupt them and stop them on the mic, and then you're just going to start them up and get them riled up, and then basically you get that championship opportunity. But that's how it works now with the writing. But I don't really like that. So that's the part I really understand when it comes to Mustafa Ali. Just wanted to share that, considering this is the last event before WrestleMania. But now that Retribution is over, I'm not sure what they're going to do with them. Slapjack, he's probably going to get released. Mace is probably going to get released, and all the other ones. I'm sure they have some kind of in-ring capability. And I think isn't Reckoning Mia Yim from NXT? I could be wrong. But I think this stable is basically over, since they all walked out going towards the end. But I usually don't really talk about the kickoff shows that much, well, at least for that amount of time. But that's basically what happens. So no more Retribution, unless they're all going to end up just colliding with each other tomorrow night. But I guess we'll have to find out for Raw, and what in regards to what he's going to do next. He might end up leaving. Mustafa Ali might end up going to AEW. But let's get on to the main show. So that's all I really have to say about that. But Matt Riddle, he's still the United States champion. So I don't know who else is probably going to end up challenging him for that, unless he does an open challenge tomorrow night. So let's get to the main show, since the kickoff show is all over and done with. So our Women's Tag Team Championship match is the first match to kick off the main show. We got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the current Women's Tag Team Champions, defending their titles against Sasha Banks. I almost said Shayna Baszler. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for the winner of our Women's Royal Rumble match. So something that I thought was going to happen with this match really quickly. Remember how Shawn Michaels and John Cena was on the same, where they were a tag team? They were a tag team, and they ended up winning the tag team titles, and they had the tag team championships for just a small period of time. And leading up to WrestleMania, they ended up losing the titles on a particular show. I think it was a Monday Night Raw, if I'm not mistaken, or was it another event prior to WrestleMania? I could be wrong, but they end up winning the tag team championships, and then they just lose them within that short period of time. I thought that was going to be the case when it comes to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I thought they were going to end up winning the titles, the Women's Tag Team Championships, and then end up losing them, and maybe have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler win them back, or another particular Women's Tag Team to capitalize since they couldn't get along. But that was the case for tonight, for this match, because Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair just couldn't get on the same page, and with Reginald out there, who's the newly formed backup or distraction for Nia Jax, for the most part, he ended up being an ace for them to help them retain their championships. And they had a chance to win tonight, but just the more you watch this match, you just know what's going to happen. But that was just something that I thought was going to happen as a quick prediction, maybe to have them become tag team champions, and then have them drop it, and then they'll end up facing each other at WrestleMania. But now they're just butting heads now, so it seems like they're going to be, they're just going to build that feud up for this coming Friday to have them just, I guess, cut promos and just leading up to the big event for the championship. So I hope Bianca Belair ends up winning if they let her win, because it's a little bit scared. I'm still scared that they're not going to let her win. Because look at Shinsuke, and then look what happened to Asuka. They won the Royal Rumble, and they just didn't get the championships. So that's just what happened. So we'll just have to see if they let her go all the way to being a championship, to being a champion. So now, Intercontinental Championship. Speaking of another championship, we got another match here. The Intercontinental Championship being defended by Big E versus the new Apollo Crews. It's not the same one. I'm surprised they didn't even let him just talk in that accent. It's crazy. Just it's different, but it's cool to see. And I thought he was gonna win tonight and finally be able to get a championship. Well, I want to say get a championship. He had a championship, but then he ended up losing it. So Big E just returning for vengeance, and that also leads into some kind of prediction of him getting his revenge and being able to retain his title, which he did tonight. So Big E is still the Intercontinental Champion from tonight. Pretty good match though, but I still don't know. I'm sure this is not going to be the end of the feud. They'll probably end up facing each other at WrestleMania with maybe another superstar or two involved, maybe a fatal four-way potentially for the Intercontinental Championship, because they have certain superstars they can add into the match. Sami Zayn might end up getting involved and winning his championship back, maybe again, just to spice up the match. Our next match was supposed to be Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. I don't know if this was real. Shane McMahon apparently suffered in, was it his ACL that was injured? So this was removed from the card. So instead of having Braun Strowman not have any sort of competition tonight, they had him, Shane McMahon, get replaced by Elias, or at least Shane McMahon picked Elias in secret to tell him, oh, guess what, you're just my replacement tonight, thanks. So pretty funny. But Braun Strowman instead went against Elias, so this wasn't really much of a fight and much of a challenge, so you already knew Braun Strowman was going to end up winning. So they're probably going to, maybe they did this on purpose to set it up to give it a WrestleMania match. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon is probably going to end up facing each other at WrestleMania, I'm sure. And maybe Shane McMahon might do some cool stunts. He's still good in the ring, and I think he still can do some things, but he's going to probably be careful if that injury is really real. Because at the same time, just watching it, just to be open, I thought Shane McMahon was just faking the injury, and then he was gonna sneak into the ring and beat Braun Strowman down with that crutch, and just from behind sneak him and just get the jump on him with Jackson Riker and Elias to triple team him. But that was the match. So Braun Strowman ended up just destroying Elias. Seth Rollins making his return after a while for his first match, I'll say. Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura. He was supposed to face Cesaro, but I don't know what happened in regards to this match. But Seth Rollins ended up getting the win. I would have loved to see Shinsuke Nakamura win tonight, but I guess since Seth Rollins just got back, see how you just be able to figure it out and predict it. You know the winner right off the bat. Seth Rollins just got back. There's no way they're gonna have him lose when he just came back to Friday Night SmackDown not too long ago. Not too long ago, past a little bit after the Royal Rumble. They're not gonna have him lose a match right away. But Shinsuke deserves better, I think. I think this was one of the best matches tonight, outside of the Fiend's return, getting closer. But Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in a no-holds-barred match, I think that was pretty good, pretty cool to see. And I think this is one of the best matches, at least for tonight. And just the brutality, I'm talking kendo sticks, the tables being broken down, and just all the different moves. You could see the scratches and the bruises from just beating each other up. But I think this was one of the best matches, if anything, from the show tonight. Definitely check out Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in a no-holds-barred match. So he's going to be able to go on. Drew McIntyre ended up winning, but just like I knew. But he's going to go on to WrestleMania and face Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. Now, I'm just curious if he's going to actually win. But Bobby Lashley, maybe. I'm rooting for Bobby Lashley to hold that title a little bit longer, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have him drop it. And I just wonder how long they're going to keep this Hurt Business, the Hurt Business stable, going on, because Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, they don't even have their tag team championships anymore. So they was all drifting gold. The entire Hurt Business was drifting gold, straight gold. MVP, just managing and putting this stable together, props to him. But they don't have gold now. So it's just Bobby Lashley that's just gonna have the WWE Championship. So I'm curious to see what they do next. But Drew McIntyre ended up winning the match, just getting back into it. So it was definitely really crazy, a good match that I really enjoyed. If not one of the best matches, I think it was the best match of the show, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Now, another favorite, speaking of The Fiend, when I was saying earlier, The Fiend ended up coming back. So I knew Alexa Bliss was going to have a couple tricks up her sleeve. Alexa Bliss setting up Randy Orton. This was a one-on-one match, Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton tonight. And the games were there, the mind games were there, or they'll say psychological warfare was there. I knew Alexa Bliss had some new tricks up her sleeve. And for me, I had a feeling that The Fiend was going to probably end up returning. But just the way they did this so well. This is the best character going on the show. Like it or not, you gotta admit it. There's no other unique character that they're really putting together with all the creativity behind it, and the way he rose from the dead, but way before he even came back out of nowhere, Alexa Bliss was casting up that magic, hitting up Randy Orton with them fire spells. She had some sorcery, but it was cool to see. I was so excited to see this and see how it's going to play out. But I didn't know he was going to probably return tonight. But it's been long enough since it was like 3 months ago. So The Fiend ended up coming back. He just looked scary. It's like he looked like a zombie. Just his face. It made me think of Child's Play a little bit. Just how at the ending for Child's Play 1 when he got burned in the fireplace a little bit. And then just his whole face, you can just even look at the picture and see it. He just looks like a mess. He just looks hideous, but it looks scary just the way he was looking. And I think that this was just one of the best moments for me for the show, just seeing The Fiend return, and then The Fiend ended up helping Alexa Bliss put away Randy Orton for good. So I'm sure it's not over yet. Randy Orton's probably going to come back tomorrow and want to get a match against The Fiend. It might even be a special stipulation for the match at WrestleMania. But you got to check this out. Just the whole match, the lighting, the effects, just the magic, and just even when she made the parts of the lights, of the ceiling lights fall. And it almost scared me a little bit just seeing it. It's like it almost hit him. as if he was too close to the lights in some way. But this was just very well done and very well put together. But outside of that highlight, we get to the Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan match, 1-on-1 for Universal Championship, and then the special guest enforcer. I didn't even see how this was going to work. Edge ended up being the special guest enforcer, or the additional backup ref, for this particular match, to have him keep an eye on things to make sure everything's called down the middle. But you already know something was going to happen with Roman Reigns being out there and Daniel Bryan in the match, and Edge being the other backup referee. So lots of things ended up happening, and of course Jey Uso gets involved. Just real quick, I don't even want to run through all this. Jey Uso getting involved, kicking Edge and kicking Daniel Bryan just to help the tribal chief, or the head of the table. I'm just tired of it. It's just right, and during the match to assist. And I'm just ready for Jey Uso to just turn on Roman Reigns at this point. But I'm ready for him to lose the title. I was hoping to see something like that tonight, with Edge probably potentially helping Daniel Bryan win the championship, spearing Roman Reigns, and then helping him become the champion, and then him facing Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But based on all the events that happened, with the ref being knocked out, Edge ended up accidentally getting hit by the chair by Daniel Bryan and stuff like that, you just know that it's gonna be a triple threat. At least I hope it is. Cause even though we're still a couple weeks away, match cards could get changed, matches could be turned into triple threat matches that were originally one-on-one matches. But everything that went down from this main event to wrap up for the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns ended up retaining, of course, but you just know that it's going to be a triple threat with everything that's going on. That Edge ended up attacking Daniel Bryan in anger and just frustration, hitting him with the chair, and Roman Reigns getting a taste of the chair. And then as a result, Roman Reigns capitalizes for the pinfall, and that's basically it. That was it for the championship match. So he ended up retaining, and then Edge ended up leaving. He didn't even just end up getting the final pinfall. It was just another referee that took so long to get out there. It's just always the same thing. When a referee gets eliminated, another backup ref might potentially get hurt, or just is suddenly out of the equation for a little amount of time, and then just only for another referee to come out there, and for them to take so long to come out there and then make the final count. It's just the same thing. But I just hope this match turns into a triple threat match, and I'm rooting for Edge or Daniel Bryan. I'm just ready for new champions. And I already mentioned the whole legend thing. Edge looks good, and he looks in shape and ready to go. And he already competed this past Friday, so I'm cool with him being that champion. But now somebody like Goldberg that gets really gassed, I think, in a dangerous way, and it could potentially end up hurting others, and then other legends that don't belong in it. But I think Edge is definitely an exception, winning the Royal Rumble and then just coming back, working so hard to come back into the ring and just being in ring shape and ready to go. It's like he never really lost anything. So I definitely see a Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge happening at WrestleMania. But I guess we'll just have to leave it up to the writers. But me personally, I just enjoyed the show overall. I think the Fiend coming back was a highlight. I was excited to see him, and just even though he looked a little bit ugly in the face and a little bit scary, and just from his mask, it's just looking burnt. It's as if he was like a new Kane, rising from the dead and just from the flames. But just the way he rose, his hand coming out from under the ring, it was like he was a zombie, a dead zombie. He had that zombie look. But let me know what you guys thought about the show, if you guys watched it, and what your favorite match was, and who you'd like to see win at WrestleMania when it comes to Universal Championship. But for me, Fastlane was a great event for me.